Well, today I get to be with my friend Chris Sandberg, and this is a real treat. Matter of fact, I visualized this podcast for a couple of years, so it's about time, and it worked out that today works. So thanks for being here, buddy.
I appreciate it. It's an honor.
As is part of the hangar, background, a plane just fired up outside the hangar door, and so AJ will adjust the sound accordingly, and we'll get going. Chris, some movies like start with the end and then they go back to the beginning, and let me start with the end. Just a summary statement that watching you in action with the latest projects you've got going, I could see that kind of activity the very moment I met you. It was a matter of just time and tools, and these things would happen. We'll get to that at the end. I want to know from the beginning up to when I met you. I want to hear that story.
Oh boy.
Your childhood, your hardwiring, your parents, your influences, where you grew up. What did life look like as a kid? What were the installations that happened looking back that really have formed you? I want to go there.
I grew up right here in Marysville.
Yeah.
And had a loving family, mom, dad, younger brother. Mm-hmm. Sean's 2 years younger than me. Lived in a little cul-de-sac, and probably my first fondest memory. Do you remember the old big wheels?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Gosh, I was reflecting on that the other day. I used to burn through one of those like every month. Just
blow the plastic tires right off the thing.
And living in the cul-de-sac, it was like a sports arena. I mean, we got race bikes and stuff around there. And
right.
It was a baseball field, it was a football field, it was everything you could do, but on pavement.
Yeah.
House was about a mile north of where I went to elementary school. My dad was a blue collar worker. He was a HVAC technician, general repairman for Denny's restaurants. My mom was a part-time legal secretary for Bell and Ingram. And, we've always had enough, and we're comfortable, and never really had any needs. It was always outside time. Anytime I could be outside was my favorite. I hated being inside, riding bikes or playing games, or my weekends and stuff. My dad used to take us up to the farm on Camino Island where my grandparents lived, and we'd go help my grandpa around the farm, when he was getting older and such, and had Thule trooping through the woods, and cutting firewood for the winter, driving tractors, fishing, Madrona Beach.
Right.
Madrona Beach that's kind of where I fell in love with the water.
Mm-hmm. Right on Camino there. Yep.
Yeah. So
salt water. Yep.
Brief story about that. Everybody will appreciate this because you could only imagine what this is worth now. But my great grandfather used to own a section of land on the waterfront there, Madrona Beach.
That's a real estate term.
Yeah. Now, like when I was a kid, I knew the 2 lots that were left over from it because they'd slowly sold it off. But he ran a fishing resort down there, and there was all these little cabins and a big boathouse, which is now where the Camino Yacht Club is. And my family's property was the 2 lots south of the Camino Yacht Club. And so we were always the beach or the farm and playing, running up and down the beach, digging clams, smelt raking, crabbing.
This is your dad's dad?
Yeah, my dad's side of the family. They moved over here from Sweden, and I think they started in California, and then work transitioned them up here. And they started on the beach and then moved up to the farm, and the farm was where I got to explore as a kid, and raising cattle and cutting wood and learning how to work. And
your brother's 2 years younger than you.
Yep, 2 years younger.
And so tell me about that dynamic, as I was the younger of the older brother, 2 years older than me.
We got along really well.
Yeah.
He was, we never really fought a whole lot. Like, we played all the time. He was, run out and play catch, play soccer, whatever. He was always right there, first to jump in with me. And I appreciated that because, it's just whenever you want to go do something, you always have somebody to do it with, right?
Yeah.
Even when we got into kind of the high school age, he was still way too young to be hanging out and partying, but he still came and hung out with us, so I probably screwed him up. But recently, I guess it's been about 4 years ago, they packed up and they moved to Georgia looking for a new start. So we don't quite have as much dialogue as we used to. Probably talk to him maybe once every month or maybe every other month.
Yeah. Yeah.
But growing up, it was fun. I think I can only remember getting mad at him once. I know he got mad at me a few times. Like, we lived in a split level house, and we always played games downstairs. And so Mom and Dad were always quiet in the living room and stuff upstairs. Well, I remember this one time in particular when I don't remember what upset him, but he jumped off of the top of the flight of stairs and elbow dropped me in the back. And as I was at the bottom, it was a full on like wrestling move and it about took me out. I think I was probably 11, 12, somewhere in there maybe. And he got upset and gave me a big elbow drop off the top of the step. And then karma came back around one day to him later on in our teenage years, and he decided he was going to try to punch me in the kitchen, and I broke his arm. So that was the end of that one.
In other words, just normal brothers.
It was mostly loving relationship. Just a couple of moments that stand out.
Your grandfather, how well did you know him? Did you spent a lot of time up there? Did you get to know him real well?
I think there's a lot more that I wish I would have paid attention to. Both sides of my grandparents passed fairly early. My grandpa was 72 when he passed. And so I knew him, what was I? Into my early teenage years. And then he left, and my grandma made it all the way through my early 20s, and she passed. And then even my mom's side, my grandma there passed at 56, and then my grandpa passed away at 65.
Wow. That's all very young.
Yeah, there's so much life left, and just cancer and things.
The reason I asked, Chris, that you said he came from Sweden, and then immediately somehow, California, and got here, and immediately it was identifying real estate, buying waterfront, buying the farm. That was a more common priority back in that generation. And you don't often hear that somebody once owned a section.
Right.
A section. I know I passed this probably, 45 years ago on a broker's test, but I think it's 660 acres is a section. I'm probably wrong on that. I should just shut up and Google it. But I know it's not a little. It's a lot. It's the big square.
Yep.
And to do that takes vision for what you're trying to pull off. You can have privacy with 10 acres. You don't need a section.
No.
So it's not about privacy. It's about here's what I see, here's what I'm doing. Did you get any sense of, and then owning a fishing resort, and there's a lot there to unpack that really draws me. Like, who is this that immediately sees opportunity in that?
Yeah, I never got the whole story behind that. I never got to understand why or how or what my great-grandfather did before he came here that allowed them to do that. I mean, it's obviously not today's pricing that they paid for it, and I would imagine
but maybe relative pricing.
Yeah, I mean, Camino Island was probably the wild frontier back then too, so maybe they just staked their claim. I don't know.
Right, exactly.
It's not the Camino nowadays.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's the Madrona Beach has a special place that, as a kid, I mean, just have you ever smelt rake before?
No.
Oh my gosh,
I've seen the results of it.
It's the funnest thing ever as a kid. I mean, my dad it's a big basket on the end of a pole, and like smelt, when they spawn, they come into the beach, and literally the whole water boils with these fish. And when they parallel the beach, you throw this rake out there and you rake them up onto the beach. Well, my dad used to always grab them and he'd never look where he was throwing them. So half the time it was raining fish on top of you, and it's just fun, crazy, wild stuff as a kid, and you run around, pick them up, throw them in a bucket, and it was good.
Which all by itself, just, you see the hard wiring, the freedom, the adventure.
Mm-hmm.
I saw some little meme the other day, and it showed kids out on Stingray bikes doing wheelies and making jumps in one picture, and then the next picture is kids sitting in a basement, head down on a video game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, okay, they're both games they're playing. One, you can really get hurt, and you're building the jumps, and you're alive, experiencing something. Here it's all inside of a phone that you're navigating. I don't know, it just sort of hit me with the contrast. That freedom of life, I believe it translates to freedom of thought, of what are we going to build next? What jump are we going to build next? How do we catch those fish again?
Yeah.
How do we, because you see it one thing, and then you build on it and go, okay, well, we're building this little plank here. How about if we build a fort in that tree? How about if we, and one thing leads to the other. You're curious, you're doing.
Yeah.
Versus,
don't you still do that?
Kind of stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at the choice you're making and where you live with your own family right now, and I think, oh my God, it's like wild spaces right in front of you.
Yeah.
Here, get on a four-wheeler and drive for hours. Go explore. Go see something.
Mm-hmm.
That's very different than kids are raised oftentimes these days.
Yeah, they're so densely packed together, and safety and security is so much different than what I grew up with, probably compared to what you grew up with. And then now we go to the next generation, and now it's even more concerning.
Right.
And so
how do you see that playing out though in your hard drive, right? I see you creating things. I see you looking at a mountain and going, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to divide it up this way, and here's my access, and here's my water. And, that visualization of possibility, that's why I go back to your grandfather. A section, a waterfront resort. Mm-hmm. Back then, that wasn't a thing. But he saw something there. He saw opportunity. It's just explaining some things to me.
He's there's that side of it, and my grandfather, they could work on anything. They were self-sufficient.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Something break on the farm, Grandpa'd fix it right on the spot. I mean, not very well organized, but he knew where everything was at in his shop. I mean, it looked like to me that his workbench just tipped over, but
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
he knew exactly where to find everything. But then my dad was the same way because, of course, he's grown up around that. Like, we rebuilt engines in our garage growing up when I was younger, and, you know, he's a general repairman, so, like, he could fix anything. He just, it's a dying art. Now it's only a replacement, you know, just replace it. And
Right.
he could still make things work now, even when people think they couldn't.
Yeah. Yeah, and you had to know how to do it, right? I mean, like you say, Camino Island was in the middle of nowhere back then. And so if something broke and it's out of metal, well, you better know how to weld.
Yeah.
You better know how to make it work.
Yeah.
And that's also something it's not seen today. But I do see it in you, that we can figure this out. Here's how we make it work. There's a high level of common sense in how you put things together.
I think that's the biggest thing, being around that and growing up, is picking up the common sense.
Yeah. And the do it yourself.
Do it yourself.
Yeah.
Don't wait on others.
Right.
Just execute, get it done. If you feel like you have to wait and you have time to do it, I mean, you may as well jump in.
Just do it. Yeah.
You know, that was just do it. Yeah.
Take me from that freedom of thought to what to me seems like an extreme contrast, which is your world of the railroad. It seems, I mean, railroad, it's not even a road where you kind of decide where to go. It's got tracks. Not to say there isn't a lot to know, but it sort of says this is where you're going exactly. There's no
turning.
No turning. Right.
That was always the hardest thing getting used to, was you jump in your car to go home after work and you almost want to forget to steer. Like, I mean, it's the irony behind it, right? Yeah. So, like,
where did that begin?
Out of high school, I'd always been through construction. Okay. And then when the recession hit, construction dried up. And so I was thinking I needed to think of a new career path. And I went through, I did some public safety testing, thinking I was wanting to be a police officer. I went to work for Frito-Lay for a little bit just to pay the bills. While I was waiting to get onto the railroad, I had applied, but we kind of had to wait a certain amount of time before you kind of work your way down a list. It wasn't hey, you're a qualified person. It's who do you know? And so I knew the St. Ange family through the Lathams, Jimmy, and we had like a list of like 8 people on there. And finally the time came around for me to hire out. And hired out as a conductor, which everybody does, and promoted later to become an engineer.
Okay, explain the differences of those two.
So
I've always, if I say train conductor, I'd say, well, that's the guy up front that blows the whistles, but probably not, right?
No, it's not. And so it's funny, there's different job descriptions of whoever you talk to. There's a comical one of, we could call them professional waivers or window lickers or whatever. Like they're a trained administrator is what their true job is. And they're basically in charge of, they're supposed to talk on the radio, take care of all the paperwork and whatnot that gets the train prepped, ready to go. They verify cargo. They verify whether you have work along the way. So there's two different categories. There's over the road, which means you're just running a train from point A to point B. And then there's local industry work. And a local industry work, you have an engineer, conductor, and a brakeman. And the conductor and the brakeman will actually get off and they'll disconnect cars off of the train and they'll pick up cars and then they'll record. They have an electronic device that they record all their information in when we're picking up cars and transfers and stuff. And then they're making sure that your train is built in compliance, which that's a really long conversation, but basically you don't want to put an explosive car next to an open flat car that has steel I-beams on it, that if a chain breaks, the steel rods are going to go through into the explosive car and make something go boom. Or you have to have a certain amount of cover cars, is what they're called, before you can have certain types of hazmat. And so there's all kinds of hazmat on a train, and the conductor's job is to make sure that all of that is handled and that's all
set up
correctly.
The engineer then is the guy up front that starts and stops. And
yep, we're in the same cab. The conductor sits on the left. I sat on the right once I promoted, and the engineer is the one that's in charge of throttle, brakes, and controlling run-ins, knowing your territory, knowing your speeds. Though some would argue that a conductor should know that stuff just to kind of double check the engineer, because the reason why I promoted was when I hired out as a conductor, I came from Vancouver, Washington on a trip back home to Seattle, and the engineer scared the hell out of me. Falling asleep. I was like, this is not happening. So I'm like yelling at him, like smacking him, like just trying to keep him awake. I'm like, no, I'm going home and I'm signing up for engineer school. I'm going to be the guy sitting in that seat and I'm going to control this movement. It's like, I'm not having this anymore. And so, when I decided to do that, that's you put so everything's seniority based. You get a number. I was B00600020. That's going to be forever burned into my mind. But that's all I was. It was just a number. It didn't matter if you were good, if you were bad. You're just a body filling a spot. When I promoted, or when I decided to go to engineer school, you put your seniority on the line. That's a pass-fail. Like, you fail your engineer training, you may not have a job to go back to. And you basically can lose your job. So you take it very seriously. And we were talking about it earlier. There's a book that's about that thick. It's air brake and train handling in G-Corps. And I missed 4 questions on that exam.
Out of 400.
Out of 400. To make sure that I wanted to know exactly what I was doing. I wanted to know it inside out and backwards. I'm still programmed. I could probably still do a locomotive air brake test. It's just burned into me. I've been programmed. And this is almost 10 years later.
Right.
And I can't stop it. But when I come over scenic over Highway 2, or if I'm driving down the freeway, that stuff still plays in my mind. Like, where am I at? What am I doing?
What are my speeds? What should they be?
Yeah, you're always thinking 2 miles ahead of you and a mile behind you, because a mile behind you was your train, and the 2 miles ahead of you was, what if, oh shit, I got to stop. So it takes you that long to stop sometimes. When I came back as an engineer, I was low seniority. And typically low seniority, you can get forced into these positions that you don't really want to go to, and you're stuck there for a while. And there was a new run that they were trying to put into effect. It's called the triangle. And it didn't matter where we lived, but I had to go on duty in Auburn. I was living out in Arlington Heights. So you can only imagine that commute during traffic.
Right. 2 hours at least.
I get a 2-hour phone call to be on duty.
Oh, jeez.
And to get there, right? A 2-hour phone call. A lot of times I'd have to coordinate with the train master or the yard master. What is this train going to actually go? Because I would leave my house before I would actually get my call to go on duty. So many times I'd leave Arlington Heights and my phone would ring by the time I hit the freeway, and that was my drive time to Auburn, just to make sure I made it to work on time.
Right.
But I'd go on duty to Auburn and take a train over the Stampede Pass to Tri-Cities, stay the night, and then go from Tri-Cities to Vancouver Portland Terminal, stay the night, and then come back to Seattle. Well, I hired out of Inner Bay, which is Balmer Yard and Ballard. And so most people that were forced to that triangle weren't qualified on that track. I was. So I always had the pleasure of going from Vancouver all the way to Inner Bay, passing my car as I went further north.
Right.
And then I'd have to hop on a van there and drive back to Auburn to get my car, and then drive from there back to Arlington. Or the later part of my career I was living in Conway at the time. And so I had 72 hours to make that journey. So I was away from my family all the time.
Yeah.
And my daughter was young. She was probably, I'd say, from 1 to 4. I guess probably 3 to 5, 3 to 6, somewhere in there. I was gone a lot, and it was troublesome to me because I couldn't be a great dad. I couldn't be a good husband, and you're tired all the time. And
is this like a fireman type shift when you get on, you're working like several 12s in a row or something like that?
Yeah. So each job was kind of different. Like the local jobs I mentioned earlier, there were set days, but it's not like Monday through Friday. It's like Sunday through Thursday, or I think it was a Monday through Sunday, and the days off were always like a Friday, Saturday, or a Sunday, Monday, or a Wednesday, Thursday, if you were the crew that was covering the other guys. And then the over-the-road stuff where there were pool jobs. So when you just basically come back from your trip and you sign out or punch out and you go right back onto a board, and it was just a lineup of people. And so we had this tool called a layoff where you could lay off sick, and people used it just to get time off. And so there's times where I'd come back, I'd tie up, and it looked like I was like 14 people out.
Tie up,
what
does that mean?
Tie up is like punching out or clocking out.
Okay. I was thinking like
Sorry.
a boat. Do you tie these things down when
there's
you're
all
not
kinds
moving?
of railroad terms and stuff that are programmed that I may say, just ask. But you'd tie up your ticket is what it was, and it just basically records what you did for the day. And then there'd be like 14 out, and I'd go home. On the triangle, I was supposed to have 48 hours off before I'd go back if I stayed in the circuit. But there was times where I only get 24 hours off because they were just kind of forced us into that schedule, right? So a normal tour of duty was 12 hours on the clock, and you were dead on your hours of service at that point, meaning I could control a train for 12 hours, but no matter where I was at, if I wasn't to my final destination, that train would have to be stopped and tied down, and then a van would have to pick me up, and then I'd be in limbo time from the time we tie the train down in the van to maybe where my final destination is. I've been on the clock like 18 hours before I finally got to where I could tie my ticket up. And then you have the rest and everything along with that gets extended. And of course, you're away from home, you're tired, you're on an opposite schedule, your family, so you can't really call home because I'm probably getting into the hotel when my family's in bed.
Right.
And then I'll get my call to go back on duty again before they even get up. And so you're on opposite schedules all the time. I mean, I'd get home to my own house sometimes, and I still wouldn't see my family for like 3-4 days because we're just opposite schedules. I mean, maybe a quick passing of, "Hey, honey, how you doing?" Or, "Hey, Whitney," I'd spent a couple minutes with her, or Liam when he was little. Mm-hmm. But like, there was no time to actually sit. It was go to work, come home, pack your lunch, do your laundry, be ready to go again in the next 10 to 12 hours, which was normal.
And although the schedule erratic and consuming with travel time and all of that, I don't know that that's a lot different than so many other jobs that I hear about that, I mean, Microsoft, people that 12-hour days are nothing. They come home and they're exhausted and they get a few hours sleep. Sometimes they sleep under their desk at Microsoft, and then they go again, and I think the differentiation, we were talking about it a little bit earlier, is that the currency of time and freedom to plan your own day, to say, this is my priorities, this schedule reflects my alignment of what's most important is definitely worked in here, because I'm not after just one currency. There's several currencies that really I want to accumulate, like freedom of time, freedom of choice as to what I'm doing in that day. Sure, freedom, financial freedom, you would like to be a part of the currency you're after too, but it's not the only currency. Money, I see people doing jobs that make a lot of money and they have no life.
Yep.
They have no life. They're not doing anything that moves the soul. They're just making a lot of money.
Just running through the motions.
But I think tying this one together is I'm not downplaying the role of the engineering job. Huge responsibilities, a lot of knowledge to do it. But protocol, the creativity piece of it that I see expressed in your projects and things that you're doing, I don't know how you would apply that to that job. It's like flying commercial airplanes.
Everything was systematic.
Don't even think to go take a right and check it out. You'll be grounded. This is the airway. This is the protocol. This is how it goes. Get people from here to there. Here's the procedure. Not very creative at all. This isn't acrobatics or let's go dive into this lake and fly fish. No.
I've never seen a train do a backflip or anything cool, right?
Right, nothing.
No, so reflecting.
And I think, God, it just flies in the face of the creativity I see and the artistic nature of what you build and how you think. And I wonder, how long were you aware of that when this was happening? Is this a part also of that currency of life?
Yeah,
is what took you out of doing that full time?
Like initially it was like it's like, gosh, this is a perfect career, like great career change, great, like probably the best benefits you could get, retirement. I mean, everything was there, right? And that's kind of how I wasn't programmed as a kid, but it was like, hey, get a good job and, get some good benefits and that sort of thing, growing up blue collar. Well, I've had a long time to reflect on that, like on my journey when my dad passed, and just kind of like spent a lot of time like trying to process things like, how did I get here, to what I'm doing now currently. And I think the whole thing with the railroad was to make me very uncomfortable, make me disturbed enough to push me to make the change. And because I didn't have any of that creativity, I couldn't think for myself. My opinion, it's the most mismanaged billion-dollar company that there is. You could make that thing a well-oiled machine, but it's not. I've been called to duty before out of Everett to go sit on a train at English, which is the first siding that's west of Marysville, and never turn a wheel in 12 hours. I died on my hours of service and never even moved the train. And when you're sitting in a tin can in the middle of the night and you're not supposed to be on your phone reading anything, like you're just supposed to be sitting there listening to the radio for safety protocol, like you kind of start bouncing off walls a little bit. And you're like, gee, I probably should change. It kind of feels like I'm just stuck in a box. And so I started
the waiting place.
Yeah, the waiting
most
place.
Useless place.
Exactly. Right. 100%.
Yeah.
And so like, my best friend Jeff, he was going down the personal development side of things at that point in time, and I kind of got introduced to some of it and started reading books, and I broke their rules and broke out my iPad and started reading books while I was sitting there. And I'm like, there's a whole world outside of this place. Mm-hmm. Like, I have so much more to give. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, I can go do things, build things, create things. And once I get to a certain point, I mean, I want to give back. I want to do things for others. Mm-hmm. And like, I can't do that here. Mm-hmm. Like, I hired out when I was 30. And so their retirement was a 30 years of service, 60 years old. Oh, so I'm like, I'm going to live like this until I'm 60 and hope that I'm in decent health. Yeah. By the time I retire, some of them boys that have been, 30, 40 years of service, they die the next week or two when they're out, after they retire, because they don't have anything to do. And that was their purpose, was getting up to go to work. Right. And so that's when I started making that shift of like, I need to do something. I need to change. Something's got to give. And went back started my own business and got into construction again. I mean, my heart's been there in construction ever since high school. So I want you to talk. There's increments around this, and I know there's tons and tons of projects, but I want to talk to you about what I just saw a couple weeks ago for the first time, which is your own home, Jeff's home, Jason's home, the piece of ground that they sit on, and you building those homes. Let's just call that one project, which is spectacular. But walk me through that process of creating those 3 extraordinary homes on outlooks that nobody could even describe. They're so beautiful. There's, during COVID, we were playing with the idea of moving, and we thought we were going to Idaho and Montana or somewhere we thought we were leaving the state. Mm-hmm. And this 40 acres came for sale in Pateros, where we're currently at. And we went over and drove it and took a look at it. And we being Jeff and I. And I learned that there was 2 other parcels that were attached to this. And I think the 40 acres was $80,000, I think is what they were asking for it. Mm-hmm. And mind you, it's up in the mountain. There's no power. There's no water. All the utilities need to be set up, right? Of course, they're on septic. These other 2 parcels were another 40-acre piece and another 80-acre piece. And the real estate
160 agent, altogether.
160. And I remember the real estate agent was like, well, they want $220,000 for it. And I was like, cool, where do I sign? Because I already knew that I could do a 20-acre exempt segregation through things that I learned through Greystone Development, who was kind of one of my early land development construction mentors, Alan Currier. We had many talks kind of explaining this sort of stuff. And when I knew that I could get 8 lots out of that, potentially, we wound up with 7 because of the way I split it intentionally, but we could have theoretically got 8 lots out of it. And so an exempt segregation is merely an application that gets filled out with a survey on a piece of paper that gets turned in, and the county approves it on the spot. There's not a whole subdivision process that is attached to it. So most counties hate it because they don't have any kind of, there's no regulations with it. Okay, so they don't get to tell me, hey, you got to curb and gutter this thing, or curb and sidewalk, or you got to plant trees, or like there's nothing with it.
Given where it's at and the undeveloped nature of the land.
So the state actually has their law is they'll allow you to go to 5 acres, but the counties, you rarely see it over here, but it happens a lot in eastern Washington because there's so much rural land that they'll do 20-acre exempt segs. And so I knew that I wanted to break 3 lots off where we currently reside, which Jeff and I moved over together, and then we brought our other high school friend, Bo. So 3 families, everybody chipped in on it, and everybody relocated, and we dubbed it Patriot Ranch. And then there was 4 lots. One is Jason's house, along Bill Shaw Road, that we sold them off. And, we brought power in working with PUD. I think I ran 3/4 of a mile of power to get power down to our places. And then our neighbors actually took power from where we left off at the end of my driveway over to their property, which fed 2 of my new lots that were alongside of Bill Shaw Road.
Right.
And then one of my other neighbors wanted to get power that was way past the location where we were at. So he took power down to his place, but I had him put junction boxes in there so that we could tie in for the future lots where we tied Jason's house into.
Right.
And then in the future, Jason wound up buying a second lot through proceeds from a 1031 exchange from a waterfront development we did in Orondo, which that was also an exempt segregation in Douglas County. People still short circuit on that one because what happened was on the Orondo property, Douglas County adopted the state 5-acre exempt segregation rules, and we happened to fall right in through the cracks on that time frame and closed on the property and broke 39 acres of low bank, beautiful sandy beach. Probably never see it
Columbia
again.
River.
On the Columbia River.
Right.
20 minutes from Chelan. Broke those up into, I think they were like average like 6.3 or something like that. One of them was considerably larger because there's a building pad, but there was, because of the G line and the riparian line setback, you couldn't build on this big strip, but it could have been a beautiful parked out area. Jeff wanted to land his airplane there. It was big enough you probably could do it. But yeah, so the exempt segregation created 7 lots in a 2-week time frame, and then once we broke those up, I ran the power, the water, punched the wells in, and we sold each one of those lots for a considerable amount of money more than what we were into them. Hit the market just right, because now the market's corrected a little bit too. So, I mean, that couldn't have worked out better.
But still, they're even in any market, these are waterfront lots on the Columbia, that are hard to find. Yeah,
and so and then they changed the rules after we did that too. So this is a funny story. Because when they dammed the river, a lot of the old lot lines actually went out beyond the shoreline, and the lot lines are out in the middle of the river.
Right.
Well, we did it just in the nick of time, and after we did it, they changed it so that you could not do a 5-acre exempt segregation on lands covered by water.
Counting underwater as part of the square footage.
Yeah. So I had the pleasure of going to a commissioner's meeting, and I was one of the examples on their wall that day of, look, these guys did this down here and we don't like it. And it was because they didn't get to control anything.
Right.
They didn't have any say on what we had to do for road improvements. I mean, we got easement. Bought an easement from a neighboring property adjoined to a county road, created a private road system, fire apparatus turnaround, everything that's required by the fire codes, power, shared wells. We attempted to do a Class B water system for that,
right?
Which I can serve up to 9 connections with.
In that county, 9.
But we had nitrates in our water, and there was a slight, I don't even remember what the measurement was. Everything's parts per million, but I think it was like 0.001 arsenic. And the minute you do that, you can't do a Group B water system or A.
Can't filter that out.
No, they wouldn't allow it. I think you could filter it. But they won't. If it reads on there, they're done. And so then it was like, okay, well, there's no such thing as a problem, only solutions, right?
Right.
So like, how can I make this work? Well, you just go back to shared wells. But the other trouble with that is the lot configurations, you couldn't build within, you couldn't have your drain field within the radius of the well.
Right.
Which left you no room to build a house. So what do you
75
do?
feet of the well, I think.
Well, they do 50 feet. It's different. Like they do 50 feet from your septic tank over there.
Tank. Not
Yeah,
drain
which
field.
is, it's interesting because I thought it was a 100-foot radius like it is here.
Right.
And so it was a little terminologies and trying to work through that. But I'm like, I can't.
Start moving your wellhead around like a cursor going,
so
right there it works.
Exactly. So we had these.
And then hope you were water there.
The first 3 lots were really deep. Okay. And then they kind of pie shaped out towards the end where they became small. So the only thing that made sense was to do 4 shared wells. Well, 3 shared wells and 1 individual well because lot 7 ended up with its own.
Right.
And then the other 3 were shared wells, but you put them in a well field where you just punch 4 wells right next to each other, create an easement around it, and then create an easement, utility easement from there down to the other lots, and you run your power conduit and you run your water line and everything from that well field, and there's just an underlying easement around those wells.
I really hope people can understand this logistically because really what you've just done is put in a public water system.
Kind of, yeah.
Right, because rather than one line that is now public water system, we're going to feed it all, you've got 4 lines right next to each other,
Yep.
separately metered power sources for the pumps.
Yep. All the controls, everything in there.
Same water, same arsenic level,
Yep.
same everything.
But now you get to enjoy it independently.
Different regulation, and you monitor it independently versus a fiduciary of a public facility.
Yep.
Yeah, and see, it's the reason I hang on this, and again, I've been through Group B water systems, and I understand them, but without even getting into the weeds of this is the mind of the entrepreneur. It's the okay, well, this route has a stop sign, and here's why. But I could punch a well right here for 2 people, and the stop sign turns to a green light, no problem.
Yep.
Huh. And this is a good spot for all the lots. So you mean I could just do right here, same aquifer, not setting up a drill rig multiple times. It's right here. All of that efficiency, but now it falls under a different class that says, white is the driven snow. Can't do it, can do it. And arguably the cost to do it this way, more, but it was a route to completion.
I think it actually, if I recall, because I was penciling that, and the difference between doing the Group B with management and having to try to do filtration and stuff with it, I think it almost washed itself out compared to the other way. And then it was a better selling point, I think, too, because people would rather have their own well because when you're on a Group B, you're still limited to 5,000 gallons of water a day. And when you go to a shared well, your 5,000 gallons per water a day now shared with your neighbor, 50% ownership, so 2,500 a piece. You're a lot more comfortable when you want to water your yard.
Right.
So I think there's more value that you're adding when you're making that change, right?
Well, and to me, even just several of the topics, the segregation rules, how does that work? Where can that work? You can start reverse engineering. What county, what allowability, where can I get a a big piece sliced up into smaller pieces in 2 weeks.
Right.
With a survey. All by itself, knowing where you could do that is a valuable entrepreneurial thought, because I'm telling you, in counties, King County does not exist, right? It's there. There's certain places though that there's opportunity because of regulation.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, knowing that little tool, and then working with somebody who knows kind of how their system works over there. I mean, part of being an entrepreneur is just learning how to become resourceful, because you're not going to know everything yourself, and there's no way you're going to know everything yourself. And it's okay. Well, who do I know, or what questions should I ask to the right person to get me there? And then you put your thought into it on top of what you've learned, and then try to analyze things from so many different angles to get you from point A to point B where you want to go. Yep.
And being aware, Chris, like, follow me here, like let's say you're out looking around, you think you know the rules. You think you got it down, what you can do, right? Here's what the code says, but then all of a sudden you see something, go, how the hell did they do that?
Yeah.
That question has been the greatest teacher for me of anything. Because when I don't understand, wait a minute, how did you build this building with no side setback? I mean, I can see the pin here. There's no side setback. What the hell?
Yeah.
You go to the jurisdiction, you have the address, you say, pull the plans, they pull them and say, right here. How? Oh, well, they use the steep slope exemption.
Yep.
The what? Where does it say that? Well, it's really not even in the code, but here's a list of that particular environmental exemption, that if the slope is greater than 48% on 2/3 of the line, no side setback. What? and all of a sudden, another little tidbit, or a million things like that you go, wow.
It's another tool.
I thought this was 40-foot max. That's at least 60 feet.
Yeah.
Ask the question.
Yep.
Because somebody knew something you didn't. They figured something out. They even if it's a variance, a precedent had been set now. So, okay, that means I could probably buy this property next door, and they got a variance a year ago to do this. I like my chances. You see, I mean, it's being aware and curious. That is,
and don't give up at that first no either, because there's people working behind the counters that shouldn't be, and you need to talk to somebody who really knows.
Exactly.
And definitively knows and understands it, because, don't be afraid to take it up the ladder. Like, talk to the head planner. I mean, some of those people that work the counters, they know enough to go through the motions and tell you no, but that's not the answer you want to hear.
Well, no is I'm off the hook for any liability, responsibility answer.
Yeah.
If you don't do anything, I can't get in trouble.
Yeah.
So, no.
Like, and if you can, my experience from working with municipalities on this side versus Eastern Washington, like predominantly, Okanagan County and then the city of Chelan, like they're very friendly, and they're really open to, if you're going to add value to their community, they're really open to helping you. I mean, I had a planning director tell me that they're changing they're redoing their comp plan, and he goes, whatever you think you're going to be doing with that property, just wait until we get this done. You're going to be able to triple your density on it. Right. I mean, a planning director doesn't tell you that kind of stuff.
Right.
But
they see how you do things.
Yeah.
They see that you do them right. They want this growth in their area.
Yeah.
So they're planting seeds to those who will do it and do it well.
Well, I had a preliminary application meeting yesterday with the city of Chelan, with some property that we have tied up. That's 78 acres that's within the city limits. 78 acres in the city limits. That never happens, right?
Yeah.
I think it's probably the largest piece that they've seen in the city in probably 100 years that has not been developed. And I look at the planner and all these guys that are sitting around this table with me, the building department, the fire department, fire marshal. I have my civil engineer. I have another investor guy that I included him with it too. And like, it's your team, right? They're not somebody that you should be feeling like you're being talked down to, or you're treating them in a manner that like you're not superior to them. Like your guys are all on the same team, level playing field, oriented team. Exactly, problem solvers, right? So like we have a problem in Chelan of there's no affordable housing, and everything starts at like 1.2, 1.4, and being a tourist town, that dies in the wintertime. And so the businesses lose employees. They got to get laid off. There's no stability. And it's because they just keep driving these prices up. Well, I've always thought that there's a way to solve affordable housing. There's got to be a way. No such thing as problems, only solutions, right?
Right.
Think about it all the time. Something is going to come up and show up for you. And I thought when we were down in Woodinville, when I went down to Wolf Industries, I thought, hey, modular's the way to go. Boy, it could still work in places, yes, but I found a better system now that will work out as a stick-built home on site, more value, bigger houses. We want to do this whole neighborhood in this thing. And talking with the planning director yesterday, we're like, yeah, we want to do this, and this. What do you guys think? I feel like this portion of the development, because it's all phased out, we're trying to cluster them to get a smaller lot size requirement because we're on the hillside, and we got to make some changes to home design. And then once we get to future phases on top, when a water system goes in, we're going to mirror more of the normal subdivision that's next door, so it all kind of like blends together well, right? Well, my planning director said, hey, have you ever talked to the Chelan Valley Home Trust? I never knew anything about it. And he's like, you need to go have a conversation with them. He goes, you're going to be able to do what you want to do, but they're probably going to give you a couple $100,000 a house if you meet these requirements for this program, where they will, I'm not very well versed on it just yet. I haven't dug into it.
Affordable housing association.
It's like an affordable housing thing where I believe they take in money from people who donate, and they're trying to provide houses to lower income, which like Chelan doesn't have. The workforce is, $500,000 house is probably about tops.
Right.
Well, they're able to contribute some of this money and this funding for like infrastructure, utility extensions and that sort of thing. They did it's an 18 lot subdivision they're doing that they were awarded like $1.8 million to do their utility extensions that they need to bring utilities in here.
A grant?
Yeah, it's like a grant. And I'm like, okay, well, so you're saying I can use this with my development, and then I have somebody else on my team that, I don't have to go find all the funding. Now I might have to find some of it because they might be open to funding a large portion of bringing this infrastructure in. And so I'm going to dive down that road and see, but I think it's because of my relationship with the city of, I treat them with kindness. I treat them like they're my friend, like they're on my team. Like I ask questions. I'm never upset with them. We just kind of roll through the motions together. It's fun, but they feed me that information.
Yeah.
Hey, you could do this. And here's the icing on the cake. if we meet those qualifications, there's a certain criteria that they have, I can get all of my utility hookup fees reimbursed as well. In Chelan, it's like $20,000 a house. There's 160 lots.
Right. I can do the math.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's pretty
Quickly.
substantial. So not only are you creating something, but you're contributing to a need in the community, and you're still making money with it. And that's all because of kind of having the planning department on my team and working with me.
Okay. So here's a segue, Chris. That connection piece, that very much old school, who's in charge, get to know them, get to know people, that this is their life, this is what they know. They know zoning, they know planning, they know undergrounds, they know utilities. This is their world to know that. And you brought them on. Could AI ever replace your relationship with them? Could you ever say, rather than call them, I'm going to go to AI and AI is going to tell me what I need to know?
That's an interesting question, because I want to say yes and I want to say no, because the relationship side of it, no, you can't replace that. I mean, that's something that I think only...
The initiative side, like, hey, Chris, you might want to check this out.
Right.
In other words, if you don't ask the specific question of AI, you didn't ask that question. He just volunteered, hey, I thought of you, something you might want to check out.
Right. And I do see the other side of it, where if a municipality was to adopt AI as kind of their governance of their code, I think you're going to get a very black and white answer. Like, you're going to ask a question and it's just going to tell you no, or it's going to tell you yes.
Could it give you the variance answer? Could it give you the creative answer?
No, absolutely
you might
not.
want to check this out because this might work in this zone. See, those are and I don't know the answer to that. We're at the forefront of this whole, where is this going and how?
Right.
But those are the questions I'm asking, because there is a trend right now among some that cut all that stuff out. Have AI do it all. And therefore, I don't have to have people skills. I don't have to have connective skills. I don't even have to meet the seller. My bot can talk to them, draft the purchase and sale agreement, and tell me when I need to wire money for the purchase. I've literally had too many of those kind of conversations, and I'm not arguing that it isn't happening. I guess I'm asking the question, what isn't happening? And maybe it's just a currency, because the currency of relationship, the currency of that you said it, you enjoy working together. You have a good time together.
Yeah.
You solve things together. When all that's missing and you just are following some computer's instructions on what to do next in logical AI order,
I don't think it's fun anymore.
It doesn't sound fun to me.
No.
It doesn't sound like, oh, here comes your favorite inspector and Jerry loves golfing and you're going to shoot the shit about golfing with him while he's checking out your ditch.
Yeah.
I don't know. I worry. I'm already extrapolating, like, what are the sociological ramifications of this? Not necessarily the dollars and cents issue, but the quality of what you do. I mean, all these people that you've gotten to know, that know you and trust you, even just in our little time over in Chelan, you hang around you too long, it's like, hey, Chris, everybody knows you over there. It's like, this is a community that's cheering for you.
They're tight-knit people. Like, everything over there is small town. I mean, if you're within a 50-mile radius, everybody seems like they know everybody or know of somebody. And
And just to set the context for people who aren't aware of Washington, you can look it up on a map. But where we're sitting right now, you drove 3.5 hours to be here.
Little town of Pateros.
Yeah.
It's about 20 minutes north of Chelan.
Yep. Yeah. And so and it's a long drive, and up and over the Cascade Mountains and down, and here you are. But it's very different than being on the west side of the state with urban everything. Right.
I get anxiety coming over here anymore.
I can imagine you do. That's why I go east to de-stress.
It's not bad. I love coming North Cascades, but when I come over Highway 2 and I hit the trestle, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is why I left. I don't want to be here.
I'm hearing you.
It's a pleasure working with, good people and it brightened my day the first time this happened to me. I went in to ask the planning assistant a couple questions one day, and everybody just drops what they're doing and just came over and said hello.
Yeah.
Like, when does that happen?
Right. That's really cool.
But that's really cool. I've talked to Catherine. She actually lives in Pateros. She's the assistant there, and not really planning on it, but next thing you know, a half an hour went by just in conversation.
Right.
And it's, you're asking some questions about things that are going on, but you're also getting to know them, and, they respect that and they open up to you.
Yeah.
And they see that you're trying to do something for the community. It's a huge deal.
Well, a couple weeks ago now, I was invited, as were a lot of power players in the area, to go see the grand opening of phase 1 of a very, very big project. And I want you to walk through the genesis of this project, give a picture of where it's currently at, and what phase 2, 3, et cetera, have the potential of looking like. Let's talk about that project, because we've talked up till now about some dividing lots and some single-family homes that are spectacular, could win awards, affinity pools, amazing. But this project, from a project standpoint, is a lot bigger. Walk through the latest.
Yeah, so the garage project...
The garage project, is that what you call it?
Well, CLG, the garage project. I mean, it's been numerous names. Chelan Luxury Garages.
Okay.
That all started when we met. Mm-hmm. And 2024 January in Tucson was the first time I'd heard anything about any boat and RV storage or anything like that. We decided, I knew I wanted to coach with you, and I remember we had the two-week follow-up call, and you're like, hey, consider this for Chelan. It might work really well in your area. And I thought that's an incredible idea and an incredible spot, because there's boats parked all over in the fields, and like the old fruit packing plants are just like shove your boat in there like sardines and forget about them for the winter. And then the first person that wants to come get their boat out, God forbid, it's probably in the middle of the building, so they got to unload everything. And so it's a unique product for that space. And I've seen where it works elsewhere, Crescent Bar. We've toured Grouchtown, and a couple other facilities. I remember you'd said on our 2-week follow-up to consider these options and maybe do some research and figure out what the storage scenario looks like. And so I just jumped into it, and there's not a ton in Chelan, but all of the storage areas are full and they have waiting lists. And I know that they stuff these boats in the old fruit packing buildings and the warehouses and such. So I'm like, this is a really good deal. And so I just went on a search trying to find property. And, when you're trying to find property for a project like that, or even residential, it's like, okay, well, what's the zoning? In this case, it's warehouse and industrial. And it doesn't specify in there anywhere about anything like kind of mini storage or anything like that in their code. So I narrowed down the section using the city of Chelan has a GIS map where you can do your zoning overlays, so you can figure out exactly kind of where you can go do this. And so I made a list of like 9 properties to go tour and just look at, and just went and drove them. Well, everything in Chelan is on hills, everything. And so it was like strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, and I pull into the last lot. And yeah, it's kind of hilly, but there's a for sale sign on it. And I thought, well, interesting, and kind of looked it up and found out it's pending, but something was telling me to call anyway. So I called Morgan Picton, the agent, up, and he's like, funny you call because we just fell out of contract a couple days ago. And so the property's available. And so we put the offer in and got it tied up. And our first coaching call was, by the way, Cap, the property is ready to go.
Under a contract,
Yeah.
here comes some feasibility.
Yeah, so we started
Major feasibility.
started into the feasibility of this thing, and it's 10 acres. It's 2 5-acre pieces, part of an old short plat. So there's some strings attached to it of easements that need to be vacated. And of course, with what we're doing with putting the project in, we've got street improvements and dedication back to the city, and so just trying to navigate some of that. But first and foremost are, a traffic analysis, cultural resource study, to looking for artifacts on the property to make sure we're okay to dig here, right?
Indian bones.
Yeah, arrowheads.
Right.
Of course, there's a map that, I don't have the website on the top of my head, but there's a map you can look at, and there's a trail, a known trail that goes right through the property. And I thought, lovely, this is great.
Lewis and Clark
You're gonna
walked
find
here.
something, right? Right. Well, it's typically the people that come out and do the studies work closely with the Colville Reservation, or the seven tribes that are all kind of combined into one. And these guys came out. And usually it's like shovel and buckets and sifters and that sort of stuff. These guys showed up with power augers, and I was like, wow, this is going to happen really fast. So they went through and did a survey, found nothing, which was a blessing. We did the traffic study. That was really quick and easy. One thing that we knew going into this is the property used to be an old orchard. And so one of the things that we were concerned about was, what's the soil like? And so they had this gal come out and do some soils testing, and we discovered we have lead and arsenic in the dirt. And it's because of the old fertilizers that they used in the orchards, and it was polluted like somewhere's up to like 3 to 4 feet, probably on average. And it fluctuated throughout.
Surface down, 3 or 4 feet.
Surface down. Mm-hmm. And so we're like, okay, well, we got to figure out how to mitigate it. We had to do mass grading on the property because of big buildings need big flat spots, right? So we kind of started working on a grading plan and trying to figure out, well, what do we do with this polluted dirt? It was an estimated $1 million to offsite it just in trucking. And I was like, that's not going to happen. Like, can we just bury this on site? Like, what does that look like? I don't really want to excavate under my buildings and put the stuff down there. But what we settled on was we did a big trench underneath of the actual access road that was like 14 feet deep and 30 feet wide and 30, give or take a couple feet long. And we buried 4,000 yards of this contaminated soil, kept it on site. And the reason why you can bury it is because we're going to encapsulate it with asphalt later on. Mm-hmm. And so when you discover that you have this polluted soil, you do a voluntary cleanup program with the Washington State Department of Ecology. Mm-hmm. And basically says that you're going to encapsulate everything on the property so that you're not polluting it anywhere else, or somebody isn't going to get exposed to it. And so what that did was we got rid of most of it and backfilling in that ditch and we had to have an engineer involved there's like structural fabric every 12 inches to hold it together so that it doesn't settle over time.
Right.
And so that got engineered and done. And then we went through our mass grading and created 3 different terraces, if you will, with a balance fill and grade through a grading permit. We moved 26,000 cubic yards of dirt between cutting and filling.
Just for fun, a dump truck.
10 yards, 12 yards.
How many cubic yards of dirt, right? 12?
Yep.
Right. So how many again? 26,000?
26,000.
I just want people to do some quick math and go, think about the truck loads of dirt that we're talking about here.
Yep. It's crazy. I've never...
Dump truck loads
I've
of
never
dirt.
seen scrapers.
26,000 divided by 12. You can kind of do the math quickly in your head, close to 300.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This isn't some little backyard foundation, right? This is major excavation, and how creative to, dig the pit, bury it, because then everything you just took out of that pit is your grading material to level off, because it also was compact grade.
It's all binding soils.
Yeah.
It's like even everything, like when we first bought the property, it was really, really rolling, and like trying to have the vision of how do you set these buildings in there and how do you make it work? Like I could see it right out of the gate that I needed to have 3 different terraces, like chop this hillside off and throw it over there in that hole and fill it in, and then cut here and blow it out here on this side, and you create these different elevations, and then roadway that goes in with a ramp up to one and then a ramp up to the 4th one, and then the main road coming in is a natural uphill slope anyway. Like I could see it, and we had our general contractor came out and he's like, well, you could have picked a flatter spot. I'm like, there's not any in Chelan. Like it is what it is. So we had to create it. And the grading, I'm a equipment operator as well. And like, I just know I can go cut, fill, dig, compact, and get it to where I need it. So part of that grading permit and doing that mass grading, we also had a 16-inch irrigation line that ran diagonally through our property that had to be relocated around the perimeter to get it outside of our building envelopes. And that was an old, it's like an AC line where there's asbestos and stuff in it. And we were talking about hauling it off site, and doing that number with it and an abatement, but you can't, trying to do that, it'd break the piggy bank. I mean, you got to truck it. I think that had to go all the way to Oregon. There's a facility in Oregon to dispose of it, but you have the option to be able to crush it in place and bury it. Just no disturbance. Just crush it, bury it, forget about it. Then there's no road exposure going down the highway. Nobody's working with it. So just crushed and buried. And then it's all getting encapsulated with asphalt over time. So it's kind of a win-win. Save a bunch of money on trucking. It makes it easy to dispose of. And then it's safe with encapsulament that nobody's ever going to have to worry about it again.
Yeah.
So then that got us to basically build ready elevations. And then we had to bring in sewer, power, and water. Power was actually already on the property. Water line was on the property too, but it wasn't sized properly, so we had to upsize it.
Upsize the line.
And then sewer had to be brought in from, we had to run that basically a block out across the highway and tie into a system that was kind of not really designed well. And I don't know how it functioned, but there's like some sort of a collection chamber that the current guy in public works was like, it works, but it could be more efficient. So we ended up we tore that out and replaced it for them in part of our tie-in process. And so, our units, 2 of the buildings have water and sewer stubbed out into them. And then each of the units has their own power service, which we have 3-phase power that comes into the whole facility. So between going to 3-phase power, it's another great out, because in warehouse industrial, and a lot of times industrial, you need to have the 3-phase power available to be able to run your equipment and stuff that they would need for manufacturing.
Right.
So I felt that was let's just bring it in. It's already 3-phase, just extend it, and we'll just build our buildings around that idea instead of trying to change it back to single phase. It was going to cause other problems with how we needed to get it set up. I'm a residential builder, so the commercial side it's a little different. Looking back at it, could I've handled it and failed forward? Yeah, probably, but I didn't want to have the learning curve with it. So we hired a general contractor that does steel buildings to come in and put the buildings up for us. Mm-hmm. And then from that point, I kind of I've been project managing and orchestrating and making sure they're doing what they say they're going to do, and making sure everything's trying to stay on schedule, which has been, it's been a roller coaster ride of emotions.
Not only the normal construction schedule, but then Chelan has usually hard stops with snow flying and ice and things at certain times. And had one of the most mild winters we've ever had this last year.
We're so blessed with that. I mean,
that worked out.
Usually by November, you're at a hard stop because the ground starts freezing.
Yeah.
And so we were in a race to get foundations and concrete poured, and then you can build through the winter time. But, if you're going to be scraping ice and plowing snow and all that stuff, I mean, what a major inconvenience and slowdown, right?
Yeah.
Well, God blessed us with a really mild winter. I think we had a couple of snowfalls that maybe accumulated an inch or two and then melted the same afternoon.
Next day. Right, yeah. Right.
So, I mean, we were able to push things forward and get it done, and we're still a couple little details away from a CO, but the city.
It's a beautiful building, and 56, how many units done
58 units.
58 are done now.
37,412 square feet of 3 buildings right now, plus a 2,700 square foot clubhouse.
Right. And then the full phase project built out is about 215-ish or thereabouts.
It could be anywhere between 180 and 250, depending on how you want to lay the buildings out.
Right, and the size of the units, et cetera.
Our phase one's kind of a hodgepodge sizing. Like, everything works for boats and RVs and that sort of thing, but you don't really know what the demand's going to be. So it's an experiment. So we have some that'll fit small RVs and any surf boat. We have those are like 14 by 35 are our smallest. The largest is being 24 by 50, which is the maximum size you can go with light gauge steel. Mm-hmm. And then I have a bunch of 18 by 40s, which I think work really well because you can stuff a boat in there, have a workshop, create your wet bar, kitchen area, kind of chill out space. Everything's 16-foot walls with vaulted ceilings in it. So almost every one of these could have a second story in it. Mm-hmm. And they're massive. The ones we've seen before have been flat ceilings in them, and there's you're limited.
Right.
So a lot of these we can put three-tier lifts in.
Right.
And you could stack 3 cars on top of each other or 2 cars and a boat. And still have a massive workout area, shop, place to park your toys.
They're beautiful, and they can adapt and be customized to each owner, which is awesome.
Yeah.
The project of this magnitude takes a team. It takes investors. It takes a varied source of expertise from the finance side, the construction side, the permitting, the development, the marketing, the sales. It's a full team to do this, and this is a pretty rough segue. But you've gotten to know a lot of the power player community and the high achievers that it draws. It's been really awesome for me to see the communication that you've had with the entire community about this project. Just like Don Iman shares about, his RV storage experience with RSS 1 and 2. Just like Ruffy, Nikita, so many share about commercial acquisition and development. You're getting exposed to this community that really has not taken something from raw dirt, much less, the kind of excavation and site prep that you had to do to a finished project. Talk about the community of power players as a whole and this project. I know I was there at the opening ceremonies, and we had a presence. It was awesome.
They were so blessed that, so many people came. I think I've been through four power players now. And getting to know everybody from around the nation and alumni and such. And, it's just such a vast resource, and everybody's so willing to share. I don't even call it community. I call it family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everybody has everybody's approachable. Everybody's down to earth. They're not, there's no comparisons. Like, everybody's just who they are, naturally loving people, and they're open to sharing everything that they're doing. And it's the best education. I think that education, resource, you have it all in this community, and something you can't find anywhere else.
Something I really appreciate about you, but I see it a lot in this community, because this community is a community of doers.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're a doer, you also better know how to call some audibles along the way. In other words, you can draw things up, say, here's how it's all going to go. And then all of a sudden you realize you got an upsize of water line. Or, oh, shit, I've got to reroute an irrigation line or something. There's no way to know all of what you're getting into until you're into it.
Yep.
And so by definition, as smart as I think we all think we are, there's a sense of humility that runs through this community that is just almost a given. And why the humility? Well, the humility is because we're doers.
Yeah.
When you do, you're on the arena floor. You'll take a slash of a sword now and then, or you get too close to the damn tiger who comes out of the dirt and takes a hunk out of your leg. Things happen when you're out doing that you don't see coming. COVID stops all kinds of projects. Wow, there were those who had to persevere in $30 million projects to just try to get to the finish line amidst concrete strikes and shutdowns and nobody delivering materials. And, okay, you didn't see it coming. And there creates the humility that, sometimes just getting through something is a huge success because the adversity just keeps coming.
Yeah.
Other times things go smooth, but you persevere humbly, because the more we think we're in control, we're reminded that there's a lot of things that we didn't think about or that are out of our control. And that humility, to me, is a big, big part of the Power Players group. Everybody's willing to share, but it's not just sharing victories. It's sharing where I missed that and got my ass kicked,
The pitfalls, the things that show up.
We share all of it so that we all get better and more aware. And you've been really candid with this project from beginning to end, and it's been a big project. And you've been up front several times with this project. It's a couple years to get this first phase done.
And they're not all successes. There's been there's been a lot of fail forwards and mistakes made, and all you can do is learn from them.
That's
you
it.
know, and if you don't know, find somebody who does know that can help you navigate it. And that's what's beautiful about this community, is that you have somebody that's there to reach. I mean, you've helped with a lot of it.
But there are people that have
all over the
built
country
lots more of these kind of units than I have.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
But making that phone call to Minnesota, all over the place, we can lean on one another, and that's you can't get that anywhere else.
Well, I'm appreciative, Chris, of your involvement in this community. Tell me about your family. I want to hear about your bride is a power player. She's awesome. Your kids. Tell me about how this entrepreneurial world is working in your life.
I'm trying to figure out the work-life balance. I'm not sure if there is one anymore. But my wife, Kelly, she shared with power players, kind of wanting to understand what it is that I've been working with and where I'm learning from, so that she can help support me. And so she came to San Diego.
Yeah.
We just celebrated our 20th anniversary.
Huge.
And we met in Lake Stevens years ago at a bar. I was blowing off steam one night, and she was with her mom, and they went to have drinks, and they came and sat down by us, and we started talking, and that was kind of weird, meeting with her mom, right? But we ended the night on a good note. I asked her mom if I could ask her daughter for her phone number, and it just progressed from there. I think we talked a couple times on the phone and went on a couple dates, and we've been glued to each other's hip since then.
That's so wild.
She's everything that I'm not, and she's an amazing mom. She takes care of, she's a stay-at-home mom. She takes care of the house, the kids, facilitates all that stuff. We're up and down the mountain, I don't know, sometimes six to 8 times a day. We don't get a school bus, so she takes them to school every day, and she's up and down there, friends' houses, events, things that are happening.
Right.
My daughter just turned 16. She's Whitney. She's been through driver's ed now, and she's waiting for that first car to show up in the driveway. And the driving thing is so weird now. There used to be, we'd turn 16, get our license after we take the test, and now it's like 6 months you got to wait, so she can't get her license until September.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It's weird. I'm like, really? But so she's working on that. She's really excited to get behind the wheel. She trained on Power Wheels when she was little, and so driving came naturally to her. And that was a blessing, because I'd always worried. I was like, gosh, are my kids going to be okay with this, And
that's awesome.
She'll be great. Yeah. And Liam just turned 13. So both my kids are teenagers. That's kind of a tell of time, right? Like, wow, okay, where'd the time go?
Yeah.
But Liam's, I think he's borderline genius.
Mm-hmm.
He's so smart. He sucks in everything that he likes playing video games, but he likes going out traveling. He's always digesting facts, which is wild. I used to watch Looney Tunes, Bugs Bunny and stuff, Woody Woodpecker growing up,
facts. What do you mean?
Well, I know, right? But
Coyote never won.
I know, right? Meet. Gosh, I love those days. It's fun to watch that stuff. But he watches YouTube, and he's watching geography and just digesting these facts and being able to reiterate it.
Don't complain about that.
I'm like, if you want to do that, go for it. I can
you could be doing worse, let me tell you.
Yeah. So he's he played soccer a little bit when he was younger. I was hoping he'd stick with it, but he just decided it wasn't for him. Mm-hmm. And he's learning everything that he possibly can. He wants to get involved with what I'm doing, and they both see kind of the freedoms and the things that they get to do that maybe they wouldn't normally have that opportunity. And so I'm my goal is to build something that for me is going to be a cash machine that's not going to put out, but I don't ever want it to end. I want it to be able to just pass the ball. Mm-hmm. And I think between the projects I have going on currently, and I'm launching an e-commerce platform thing to kind of get a little more of a wide low stance and trying to figure out how that and real estate can pair together and become a well-oiled machine that they can take over. And I told them it's not a free ride, but you're going to come out and learn the ropes and figure out what Dad does, because you need to understand it, or before I'm done, I need to make sure that I get rid of it, because I don't want to burden you with it if you don't understand it.
I think that's a great philosophy and a great motivation. You know, it's a passion motivation, which is sustainable. So that's awesome, Chris. This coming November in Orlando, you'll be up front speaking at alumni, and although you could fill hours with what you're doing, give people a soundbite, like one piece of your philosophy that you're going to try to hand off to people in Orlando.
With as much stuff that I have going on, like, just always challenge yourself. Like, I would have never thought that this garage project would have became a reality until you just dive in and do it, you know. And everybody that's here in Power Players has the resources available to be able to pull something off like this. It could be a $10 million home build that maybe you've never done before. It could be a $25-30 million commercial project. But anything's possible. You just got to do the work and jump in and get it done. I mean, we have so many resources that are here that can educate. I mean, it's better than any education you're going to get anywhere. Just a simple conversation that's a phone call away that'll spark a fire in somebody to go create that dream, you know. Like, I would have never, I mean, coming from the blue collar family and just doing labor jobs and construction and learning the trades and everything, I would have never thought that I would have done something like this. But
I overheard you. You may not have even noticed, but I was listening to you in a serious conversation with a couple of guys recently, and the topic you were describing, a design of a home that you had in your head that was built around taking off and landing flying cars.
Yeah.
And you were as serious as a heart attack. You were like, no. It's like you wouldn't build you said something like, you wouldn't build a house these days without a Tesla plug in the garage, would you? That would be stupid, you know. Well, in the future, you're not going to build a house without like heliport or whatever you call it, that it's the garage that you put your flying car in.
Yep. The Jetsons are going to be a reality.
And I'm like, see, this is the creative side, that if you can see it in your mind, you can do it. And how I think of the alternative of, here are these railroad tracks, not taking away from the expert it needs to be an engineer, but it's not creative. It's follow the rules or bad things are going to happen. There's a place for that. The place of entrepreneurship is to see something that doesn't exist and to go create it, to see an opportunity and have the craziness to think you can actually go stuff a solution in there and create something that solves it, makes some money, and you live to fight another day. It's totally different than, here's the way it is, don't vary 1 inch. It's it's all about seeing where to vary and how to vary to accommodate the opportunity you see. And you've done it in Chelan, the discussion around flying cars. You know, all I can say is I want people to bookmark this, because God willing, and give me a decade from now, I probably won't be able to get out of this chair without help, but I would love to do this again in a decade and then say, oh, remember where we last left off? Well, let's talk about the latest visions that you've had and what you've created, be it affordable housing in a way that nobody's ever done it, be it flying cars, be it all of what hasn't happened yet is what being an entrepreneur is about. And you're a great entrepreneur.
Thank you for that.
So, man, I'm excited for people to take in more of you. And like Orlando, they'll take in more of you. All these people, more connections, more resource, which only makes you more powerful, because it's, oh boy, do I have a tech guy? Oh boy, do I have this guy? You know, bring them together. Let's get our heads together here. I see it happening, and I love watching it unfold. So
the brainstorm sessions at alumni are amazing.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Buddy, how do people get a hold of you? And be careful, because you want to route it the way you want to route it, because I don't want it to take over your day job. But how do people get a hold of you where they can comment and ask questions and just introduce themselves?
So I do have a Facebook, but I'm rarely on it. So feel free to reach out on Facebook or Messenger. But really the easiest way is the old-fashioned way. Call me, text me.
Then
425-737-5211. I try to get on my calls, but if there's a day delay there, it's just because I'm busy, but I get back to everybody.
You know, it's really interesting, Chris. I find that those who have, this is really interesting, and I'm not downplaying anybody's different answer than that, but I find that those who have more going on than anybody, about 95% of the time, they just give their phone number. Because if you want to get a hold of me, here's what I tend to more than anything is my messages, or I answer the phone.
Yeah.
Right?
It's glued to me.
Then I, if I can't do it right now, I'm going to write it down. I'll be back to you. But it's the most efficient way versus when I happen to stumble into social media or this or that. Maybe it's because you got too much going on to be spending too much time on Facebook and this.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of stuff on there that just doesn't suit me, and it's like just let some of it go. I mean, I periodically jump on there just to see what folks are up to, but it's usually a pretty short stay.
Right.
I spend more time checking my emails than I do sitting on the phone.
Right. Well, I appreciate you being here. Appreciate the drive over. I'm hoping that I don't know what your timing is like to get back, but there's another great power player coming here to do a podcast here in a bit, and so I'd love you to stay if you can. But thank you for giving us this introduction to who you are, Chris Sandberg, and we'll be in great touch with you. And for all of you guys listening, again, I really appreciate the opportunity to sit with amazing people like Chris. If you've got any questions of me, run me down 206-226-7777. Pinneo, over and out.
Thank you so much, Cap. It's an honor.
Buddy. Absolutely, man. Thank you.